going on, guys? Today let's talk about turbo kits. Cheap turbo kits. If you've been in the car scene for about the past, I don't know, maybe 2 years, I guarantee at some point you've heard of the cheap Chinese turbos, the turbo kits you can get on eBay, stuff like that. A lot of LSs are running it. Well, you can get it for Civics, Miatas, all kinds of things. Well, I was actually quite interested to see what you could actually get off of eBay, build quality, what you get for your money as far as how many parts, all that kind of stuff. So I bit the bullet for you guys. I figured it out, and I will be honest how I feel about the kit. There's a lot of things that are good about it, and there's a lot that are bad. So we'll kind of go over all those things. So let's get to it. Let's kind of get started with what you're gonna get. In my case, I got an actual turbo, the manifold, what was originally a downpipe, flipped it over. You have your high pressure oil feed line, as well as your drain down here. You have what I would call a starter intercooler kit, meaning that you have a really chintzy cheap intercooler, which will probably do a job just fine. But this is not the one it comes with, just so you know. But you're gonna get a really cheap intercooler. You're gonna get 2.5 inch piping for the whole setup. I'm just being honest, it doesn't work out of the box. When they say it's going to fit, that is a huge suggestion that it might and it will not. So you know, now you are going to have to be able to cut, measure, and either crimp or weld on lips to make sure that you're not going to have a boot slide off or anything like that. But that being said, it does come with all the stuff necessary. It comes with the blow off valve, all that. I don't have it on this car right now because I'm kind of figuring out a few more things. It does actually come with a wastegate. I am personally going to be taking this off before I actually run this car with boost. I just don't trust it. I'm just going to run a tile setup just to be safe. To me, it's worth the money to make sure that even though I'm not going to be making a ton of power here, I just do not want to blow this motor up. That's not the point of this build. It's not to go super fast, just to get a little quicker. So to me, that's not a huge deal to go ahead and bump it up, but I assume you could run that and be okay. I'm just not going to take the chance. Let's get on to this turbo. So in my particular kit, this was an eBay 1.8 Miata kit. They sent me a 72 millimeter inlet turbo with a 57 millimeter exhaust side housing. I don't know power wise what this is going to make. I can tell you right now, as far as the kits go for Miatas, with stock engine at least, this is a lot. This is much larger and probably a lot more inefficient than what you probably should be running with one of these actual legitimate kits from, like, say, CX Racing, which sort of legitimate, but say like Flying Miata, you know, they know their stuff. They're going with smaller turbos and more efficient, can be spun up quicker. I do know, I have turned this vehicle on several times. It does actually struggle to spin at the very beginning, so I'm imagining there's just not a whole lot of exhaust gases leaving this and going into that, but I think it will do the job just fine. The turbo itself, the quality is fine, I guess. It does come with a bit of play, not anything to be afraid of. It's not going to be touching the housing or anything like that. It may be a little bit in the design, so that way it can kind of free float. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a huge expert on how turbos are built, but it does seem fine. I've had turbo failure out of other cars in the past. I don't think this one's going to be blown immediately. So as far as that goes, that's good. And the actual exhaust side housing is fine as well. Nothing really noteworthy. This obviously does not have a wastegate on it, so it is running external, like I said. The one thing with this kit that is noteworthy, this actual inlet, or I guess out, it is 2 inches. So the intercooler piping, like I said, was 2.5 inches. Now on this particular kit, they give you 2.5 inch boots to actually attach to the intake manifold and to the intercooler that it comes with. However, they do not have a reducer from 2.5 inch to 2 inch. So you are going to have to get something like that if you do actually plan on running this kit in particular. I'm not sure if all kits are like that, but mine in particular came without that reducer, which is very important. Moving on, the manifold that comes with the turbo. This is a part where I get pretty frustrated with this, whatever company, I can't remember, I'll have to link it, that I purchased this from. Once again, I know what I was getting into, so I'm not complaining, but just, it's realistic, so let's talk about it. This turbo they sent me does not actually match the manifold size. So this manifold has a smaller diameter flange than this one. I believe this is a T3 flange, this is a T4. Once again, not a huge turbo professional, but I'm sure somebody will correct me on that. But I do know for a fact this was too small and this is too large. Now in this case, I was going for price over quality in a sense. So I was okay to go ahead and weld up the holes because they were set up for a different size flange. I welded them up shut, drilled them out, and got all hooked up just fine. Just be aware, at least with this kit, at least what happened to me, this was totally wrong. These would not go together initially. Moving on, I've heard horror stories of the actual manifolds not fitting up. I did not experience that. My manifold fit just fine. So I didn't have any issues with that. Bolted straight up to the 1.8 just fine, like it said it would. Moving along to the exhaust. So in my particular kit, it came with a starter downpipe. So this is actually just supposed to be a downpipe. Now, in my case, we just cut it right on the flange and then just TIG welded it back up at the right angle so it's coming out of the hood. Side note, this is not the end of the exhaust. I'm actually gonna have to raise it up and then drill a hole out for a bung to run my AFR gauge. But since this car is not finished yet, that has not happened. But stainless steel, no big deal, that part's fine. The exhaust gasket they gave me, totally fine. I haven't had any leaks out of it, so we're good there. Let's move on to the lines. So first off, your high pressure stainless line for the oil, the quality's fine. There's nothing really to complain about here. I do wish, once again, this is just nitpicking, I really wish they had sent me a 90-degree elbow fitting, so that way it wouldn't be, normally it just sticks straight up and out, but that way it can kind of be kinked and then over, so I could go behind the motor. In this case, they did not include that, but like I said, I'm just being nitpicky. So the line itself is fine. It actually comes down below the intake manifold. You can't see it, but it tees off of the oil pressure sensor, and then you kind of seal that up, and just a big T on there. No big deal. It works fine. Supplies the turbo with enough oil right now just fine. So here's we get to the point where you go to the drain. Now this is where you're going to have AN fittings, very cheap AN fittings. So what you're going to get a, I believe, a 45-degree AN fitting. That's going to come up, and then it's going to meet what was a silver braided line that came with the kit back into a straight AN. Now this line in particular is not what came with it. I actually had to put that on there because the line that they gave me totally would not actually tighten into these fittings. So I don't know if they mismeasured or if they just don't care. But in my case, I did actually have to go and get another line to run the oil return. So not a huge deal, but absolutely annoying when you think that's one part you don't have to actually touch. So yeah. So moving down again, excuse all the fluid on the ground. It's not actually from this car, but probably should clean that up. Anyhow, I'm going to kind of come down to the oil pan, and you can kind of see where the AN fitting goes in. With the kit, it does actually include that little bung that you actually weld on. We actually used a aluminum rod that we heated up with a torch and melted on just to kind of see what it would do. So it ended up TIG welding because it was kind of dirty aluminum, but that holds just fine, no leaks, so we're all good there. As far as that goes, it's not too bad. You are just gonna have to remember with any turbo kit you're gonna run, you are gonna have to weld in a bung or tap it. I guess you could do that as well. But in my case, I pulled the engine, pulled the pan, welded the bung, everything's clean, 100% good. I'm not worried about the engine. So all's good there. So, which kind of brings you back to the whole kit in general. Now, remind you, this does not include video of the intercooler piping, or the blow-off valve, both of which are very cheap, but like I said, I believe they would do their job just fine. So just kind of get past all that point, the stuff that you know would probably work anyhow. So just move on to the quality of what is in front of us. So you have a cast aluminum manifold. Realistically, not much can go wrong with this. It's not gonna be cracking. You know, if you get a cheap stainless steel banana manifold, is what people call them, they're known to crack off of eBay. So what everyone recommends is just to go with the cast manifold, and obviously it's cast, so it shouldn't be super dangerous. It's kind of heavy, it's definitely not pretty, but it should do its job just fine. But like I said, they sent me the wrong part, made it work, but in your case, you may not want to do that. So that's fine in my opinion. I can live with what I got from that. The turbo setup, kind of same thing. Like I said, I am a little bit worried about the shaft plate it came with, but it's nothing crazy, and it is a $120, $150 turbo. I can't remember off the top of my head. So if something does go wrong, not super bad. I can just replace it. Spins just fine, nothing super crazy. You kind of see how it doesn't carry on, but I think that's just kind of the type of turbo that it is. And as you can see, there's absolutely no branding on the face of this. There's just a model number. That is, once again, it is a Chinese turbo. So don't expect too much from that. But like I said, I don't see too many issues with this. So, like I said, one more time, that wastegate has got to go. Can't stay. So I would not trust that. I'm definitely not going to run it. The way the exhaust is going to be routed out of it, it's just not going to be a great thing, and it's just really cheap quality, and I don't want that thing staying shut when it needs to open. So that kind of brings us to conclusion. Now let's kind of go over price. On my particular car, I think I spent $660, I believe is the kit. I'll have to link it in the description, but that came with turbo, manifold, wastegate, blow-off valve, intercooler piping, intercooler, I think, and then a really cheap intake, which I wouldn't run. So $660 essentially for more than you see here. I would say you probably will realistically use about maybe 70% of what's in the kit. The rest of it's pretty much garbage. I would not personally run it. So say $660. You are going to have to weld. You're going to have to be able to weld. You're going to have to be okay with some fabrication. So like in this case, the turbo is too large, so I actually had to cut out part of the frame. Not a big deal. As you can see, this car has a cage around it, and it's not a normal Miata, so it's not huge to me to cut. But some people, they're gonna, they're really gonna enjoy their cars. They're not actually gonna want to take a grinder to it, and I get that. So you kind of have to keep that in mind. Little things, like I said, you are gonna have to be able to weld. The exhaust, it came with the start of a downpipe, so regardless if you're gonna come out of the hood or actually out the bottom of the car, you either have to be able to weld yourself, or you're going to be willing to shell out the money to have another person weld it for you, which is going to up the final cost if you're going to have someone else do it, or even materials yourself to go, get the gas, filler rod, all that stuff. So stuff to keep in mind for sure. Like I said, you're going to have to get a few couplers to make sure everything fits. A few gaskets. My kit in particular said it was going to come with actual exhaust manifold gasket. It did not. So we're gonna have to get one of those. So all in all, it's not too bad. I certainly think that there's a place for this kit. In general, a place for kits for V8s, 4 cylinders, 6 cylinders, all that stuff. But you are going to have to kind of compare prices to say $1,200 CX Racing kits. Now that kind of comes with the start of a downpipe, and that is actually for a full exhaust of that. But you are going to get a little bit more quality for sure. Now if you want to spend the big money, Flying Miata kits are out there, stuff like that. Now personally, this car is not that important to me. Like I said, I'm not going for a big power number. Realistically, I was going for noise. On this particular car, it was essentially straight piped 4-cylinder because there's no room for a muffler, and it hurt my ears. So really the only option was to turbocharge it, to quiet it down, and I guess make it a little cooler, depending on you ask. So that being said, I would say to go for the kit, assuming that you have some form of welding abilities, or you're not afraid to spend a little bit of money, excuse me. But I certainly think there's a place for those nicer kits, and there's a place for these cheaper kits. You know, I think everyone should be able to go fast for whatever price they're going for. I don't know, it's kind of up to you guys, your personal opinions, but I would do it again. I think on a car like this, not super nice, just kind of a beater, why not, you know, just go for it. So that being said, I would get a turbo kit from China. I mean, it's like $600, what's the risk, you know? So anyhow, hope that was semi-informative for you guys. If you did actually find this semi-informative, then send a like, comment, subscribe. All those would be really helpful. So thanks.